I loved everything about this show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, from like start to finish, it was just freaking terrific. So, congrats on that. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I feel like this to me is like kind of a band of brothers where like besides Austin Butler and Barry Keoghan and like Callum Turner, we'll look back in a couple of years and it'll be like where it was like a cast and they just became hugely successful actors.
Mhm.
This whole cast.
Well, interestingly, Austin hadn't done Elvis at that point. He was filming Elvis.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah, he was actually in rehearsal for Elvis when he first auditioned for us. So he'd really caught all of our eye in the Tarantino film and that small part that he played. And then he did an audition for us while he was filming, while he was in rehearsal filming Elvis, and we were so impressed by it. Um, so yeah, that hadn't come out, in fact.
And I read that there were over 300 speaking parts in this show.
Yeah.
I'm getting anxiety just for you guys just thinking about it. Like, how do you even like start something that massive?
We kind of started in each plane, didn't we? So we looked at the planes and who was in each plane, and then we built around the part that we built the cast around. Well, we started with the leads, as you do in every cast. You start with the leads and you build the ensemble from there. But we specifically looked at the planes, and we wanted everyone to be very specific and very vivid in their plane, so that they stood out from each other. So we kind of broke it down like that. So a lot of our we had kind of diagrams of what the planes actually of the planes on our wall in our office, so we could imagine who would be sitting where in the plane. And you've got to be quite relatively diminutive to fit in the ball turret, because those guys had to be really quite small to fit in the ball turret. So we were very aware when we were casting a bit of the kind of the all the research of the act of the planes themselves.
That's amazing. I would have never even thought to do it that way. I would just have like, there's like conspiracy theories where they have like the red yarn everywhere and
Yeah, there was one casting meeting where I think we had ten different planes in the floor in an office out in the middle of nowhere. And it was just like 12 headshots around planes and just being really nimble and moving people around. So each plane felt as distinctive as it could.
And I realized that this was I remember in our first meeting we were smartly dressed and wearing heels, and in the next meeting it was like, right, we're in trainers, because we were basically climbing all over the office with headshots, putting them on the wall, putting them on the desks, one plane here, one plane there. It was really quite athletic.
But from the time you guys got the job to how long did it take you to fill this massive cast?
It was about a year and a half.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And
Yeah,
then
it
it
was
was really great to sorry, go on, Olivia.
no, I think we were casting up until I think the last 2 weeks of their shoot. So it was like a full year and a half.
And there's that really beautiful scene in the final episode with the lovely actor speaking, the sort of Jewish refugee who's speaking Yiddish in that last episode. I remember he was quite Leon Silver, his name is. He's a lovely, lovely theatre actor from here. And he was quite late on in the process, wasn't he? Um, but it was, they're beautifully written scripts. So you know, every role was written so well, so we were able to cast it quite specifically, I think.
What was the hardest role to cast for you guys?
That's a really good question.
I think, Lucy, would you say Rosie Rosenthal?
Yeah, to
Um,
get that right. Yeah.
it's such a big part because it had to take over in the sort of lead in the sense from Austin and Callum, who brilliantly set up the first few episodes. And then he comes in and he becomes such a sort of leading man. But we knew that we wanted to have an actor who was authentically Jewish for that part. And it's a real beast of a role. And he was such an impressive man in real life. And through doing a huge search in the US, we came to Nate, who I think at that point had just done a small part in Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza, which hadn't come out.
and he auditioned for us. They all did, and he did a great audition, and then we just did a recall, and yeah, we did it like that.
Like, was there anybody already attached before you guys came on?
Nobody. It was all us, Lance.
I'm just amazed at like just the thought of like this like do you guys like take a huge vacation after this? I mean, are you just exhausted?
I think we took a World War II vacation after
That's
that.
true.
We took a minute saying no more World War II content for a hot second.
Yeah.
Do you guys
But it was a real pleasure to work with. Gary was a brilliant, Gary Gertzman is a brilliant producer, and he really kind of guided us through it. So we had great support with him, and we had some wonderful directors to work with. So we were lucky.
how hand in hand are you guys with working with Gary Getzman?
But very hand in hand. He was a great sort of support. He was very supportive to the process. He really was, and he really listened when we advocated for someone, and we'd say, Gary, we saw this actor in the theatre, we saw this actor in a small part doing this, they're really great. He was very hands-on, and he really listened. He was very collaborative.
Do you guys watch everything that you cast? Like, do you watch like all the episodes and all the films that you do?
Yes. I really loved this. And at the end of watching the last episode, my boyfriend said to me, I wish there were more episodes. So that is like the best compliment, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I was absolutely, I am absolutely thrilled with it. I think they're all terrific in it. I really do. I'm so pleased with it.
I think it's also been so enjoyable that it's been a sort of television event with the episodes dropping week by week.
Yeah.
Because each one is so epic in its own right that it's been so nice that people are tuning in week by week rather than just binging it all in one weekend, especially given how much work it was for everyone involved. It's just been it's such a nice way to finally see it.
And the other thing is it's a real sort of one thing that sort of tickles me about it is that you've got these three American, well, Callum and Nate are American, and then a couple of the Tuskegee guys are American, and everyone else is British. And that's just kind of great that we have this amazing talent pool here, and lots of actors out of drama school and starting out, to give them that opportunity and for them to rise to the occasion was a thrill.
Now, was this cast mostly through like self-tapes?
Because it was COVID, we didn't do so much in the room. We normally cast in the room, but because it was COVID, we did it a lot on with self-tapes and also Zoom recalls. Auditions on Zoom are not ideal, but they're better than nothing. So we did plenty on Zoom.
Yeah, I remember trying to work out the technicalities of trying to get like 6 people on a Zoom to try and see chemistry-wise if they could all be in the same plane as each other and all reading in lines here and there. And it was like one of those sort of maths things going, how are we going to do it? And then it ended up working beautifully. So we did that quite a lot through the process. Sort of putting 6 actors on a Zoom at once in a sort of big fight sequence up in the air. Yeah, it was amazing.
And then that's when you would kind of switch actors around if you felt they would be in a better situation, better playing.
Yeah,
that's right. And Lance, you know what? As we did on this show and in everything that we ever cast, you know, people came in for one role and then we cast them in another role. And often an actor will come in for a relatively small role and they'll get cast. They'll be so good and they'll be so right for a bigger role, they'll get a bigger role. And that happens a lot. So I always say to young actors, like, if you think it's a small role, go for it, because you never know what might happen. If you go for it, you might get a bigger role, which is what does happen.
I was so thrilled to see I think it's episode 1 or 2, there's a really young actor that we'd done a workshop with called Jack Crutch. And I remember casting him and he had no scripted dialogue. And then I watched the episode and he ended up with 5 lines of dialogue. And I just did such a massive cheer because I was like, it's still a small part, but it's just so exciting when that kind of thing can change on the day.
And Olivia, remind me, the little kid, is it Toby Eden, who's our little kid who's got a limb difference? Because we were really conscious of having visible disability. in the show. And obviously when you've got pilots and you're all in a plane, you can't, disability is difficult to, you know, to achieve. So we made sure that the two little boys who were by the, you know, who were always the two little local boys in Norfolk who were always, you know, waving at the planes and being nearby and play and sort of messing around with Raph Law's character. Toby Eden, he's got a limb difference, he's got one arm, and that was really important to us to make sure that there's visible disability in there somewhere. And also we had lovely Tommy Jessup in the first episode, who's in the scene with the darts board, who's great, actor with Down syndrome. That was important.
I love doing self-tapes just because I don't have to leave the house. But I wish casting directors would do more what you guys did, like Zoom auditions, you know?
It's difficult. Self-taping is difficult. The only thing you can do is make a commitment and go for it with the information that you're given. That's all you can do. It's the best you can do. But agreed, you know, we like to do Zoom auditions where we can.
And I think we're really trying just as much as we possibly can now just to get people back in the room, because it's so fun for us to have actors back in the room.
You know, it strikes me, like talking to you guys, and casting directors always say this, but you guys are really a champion of actors. You know, just watching your voice, your faces, like when you talk about somebody like that little kid you were talking about, you jumped up and were so happy, you know? I don't understand why actors don't think that, you know, like you're kind of against them, you know? You want them that part.
You really want actors to do well. You know, we want everyone to come in and do their best and do well and surprise us and show, you know, we want, you know, we've got, you know, how am I trying to say it? Olivia, you can probably articulate it better than I can. But yeah, we want actors to do well.
Yeah, we've gone into this because we love actors and we love working with them. So you always want somebody to get the gig, but also we work on a basis that they may not get this one, but that audition never goes away in our minds. We can always think of them for other projects.
Do you guys still watch demo reels for like lesser known actors?
Yeah, we do. I think we always try and give somebody an opportunity, whether it's a tape or an IRL meet, if we don't know them, sort of no matter how small the scene, because it just gives us such a better sense of them. But yeah, we do watch a lot of show reels.
What are you guys looking for in those, like to make them stand out?
Shorts. Start immediately. Yeah, shorts. Start immediately with the action. Don't have doors opening and closing and walking into a room in a big wide shot. Just
no montages.
Yeah, no montages. Just get straight in there with the you know, whatever scene that you've got.
And then let me ask you about self-tape. What's your self-tape tips?
Have a light.
Don't suck.
Yeah. Self-tape tip would be light yourself nicely, and
I think if you can have, if you've got access to a good reader who isn't going to try and pull focus, that's really helpful, because that always helps. And I think if you want to try, you know, two versions, we're always happy to look at more than one take. And if you want to try something more bold with one and pull back on the other, we're always happy to see both. And we'll only ever send which we feel is the best one.
I think I've only got you for another couple more minutes, so I have to ask this question. What is like the craziest thing that's ever happened to you guys in an audition room?
We got a self-tape once, and Olivia, I don't think you were working with me back then, on a film called Ghost in the Shell, of an actor who is now doing so well, who shall remain nameless, and he did the audition with the paper bag over his head.
What?
I leave you with that. I'm not going to say who it was.
Was he trying to be a ghost?
I'm not. It was a strong choice, but I remember it.
That is a strong choice. Did you call him in?
He was like, that guy is extreme, but he's clearly good underneath the paper bag. Yeah.
That is a choice. I'm not gonna lie.
We did have some people turn up in the full Cats costumes when we did Cats, which was completely understandable, but that was quite fun.
That's a choice as well. I mean, just to go out and spend like $100 on a Cats costume.
Yeah, respect to the commitment.
Well, I'm sure you've got like a million more stories, but Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Again, this show is great. You guys have done some like wonderful, wonderful shows and movies, and thank you so much for chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It really is.
Yeah.
And thank you for asking sort of like nice questions.
No, thank you. I could have kept you on here for like another 2 hours, but I'll let you go. I know it's in the evening there, so.
That's very decent of you, Lance. Thank you so much.
All right, bye guys. Thank
Glad you
you.
enjoyed the show. Bye.